This is JJ Humphrey, and we're on Elephant in the Room. I'm here with Bobby Cleveland. Bobby, how you doing today?
I'm doing very well, thank you.
Well, Bob, today I had a little discussion I wanted to have on the sheriffs. Bob, around the county or around, and I don't know about y'all's area so much, but in rural Oklahoma, we got a massive problem going on with our sheriff's department, and that is that most of our sheriffs, uh, their pay is somewhere around $50,000, 40 something to $50,000, and when you're looking at other agencies, so you can go to work for down here at Choctaws, you can go to work for one of the PDs, and you can work an 8-hour shift and not have all the responsibilities that a sheriff has, and you can actually make more money than the sheriffs are making. So it makes it hard to get, I mean, a lot of people, we've got some good sheriffs that want to run, but it's getting harder and harder to find people who want to run, because in our area, you're going to run the jail. You're gonna have to run all your deputies, all the payroll. You're going to be responsible. You have to campaign every 4 years. So again, when you're looking at, you can make 50 sitting there being sheriff, or you can make 70 something as a PD officer right down the street. Which one is most people going to want to do? And so, Bob, we did a bill this year, and I want to talk about that bill just a little bit before we talk about some other things going on with sheriffs around the state. But Bob, I come up with the plan. There's a guy named he's sheriff of Jefferson County, and he was wanting a fund to help pay these sheriffs and deputies. We want to help pay sheriffs and deputies. We called all around, worked with him, talked to him a couple of times, called all around the state, and we got this bill together. And here's the problem, Bob. You can't, if you give the money straight to the county, then it has to be split between county commissioners, sheriff, and all them. So you got to find a unique way that the sheriffs can get this without having to go through all this other county offices. And so what we come up with was a grant type procedure. So a grant that would, a fund that would say sheriffs have to make a minimum wage. Any sheriff that doesn't make a minimum wage, we were looking at $75,000, $80,000. If they don't make this, they would be eligible for this grant and would fill them in to make that money. And then we were looking at deputies. We wanted to get deputies up around $60,000, $65,000. And again, Bob, when you're looking at the tribals are paying, that, and when you're looking at these, police departments around us are paying that. If you can work an 8-hour shift and go home instead of a deputy being on call 24/7, we've got deputies, they'll come in, no longer sit down, try to go to something with their kids, try to have a cookout or something. Guess what? They're called out. I had a deputy the other day. I was driving my fence. We're going to clean up my place a little bit. Driving a guy around my fence. Here comes this deputy car, slow, comes back, slow, comes back. Finally, he pulls up there and he's laughing. He goes, "You've got to be the maroon truck." And I was like, what? They called in on me, said I was driving around too slow. This guy had just got in and had to drive all the way back on that, Bob. And so he's probably making less than $40,000 and working all the time like that. So we come up with this bill. Bob, right now, I believe that it's still alive and it's still going through the budget process. But guess what happened to that bill, Bob?
What happened?
Bob, and you know this because we've had this before, you've seen this, you've witnessed this, but my bill got kind of hijacked. It got now I'm not saying leadership hijacked it, but I think that somebody took that bill and took it to leadership to say, well, Humphrey's a little toxic, and so we don't want him to run the bill. We want one of these leadership. So again, leadership ends up hijacking my bill. And, I wouldn't care because really, Bob, my intent is just to get the bill passed. My intent is just to do good. But it is aggravating when they sit there and tell you that you don't have any solutions. I was told the other day, all I do is attack and I never have solutions. And I said, heck, y'all steal or kill more bills of mine than you ever passed. I don't know what you're talking about. I'm the only guy up here that does have solutions, and y'all killing every one of them, And so again, and I don't want to sound like I'm the only guy up there. There's lots of people with solutions. But what I'm saying is they try to make me out to just be against them when all we are calling out the truth and trying to fix problems. And so, Bob, you saw, what was that, 2 years ago? When we had a bill, first bill that me and you did together with the what was that prison raise, the $2 prison raise. We worked it like champs and got it done. She was ready to go. What happened? It got hijacked, got stolen. We turned around and run another bill the next year because they screwed that bill up, and we even had the language right, and we had addressed all this in that first bill. But when they hijacked it, they messed it up. And so they left out 400 people. We came back with the bill to fix that 400, got that bill hijacked. I had another bill that had to do with mental health. And again, they didn't hijack it, but they made it look like it was hijacked. It looked like somebody else passed it instead of us, instead of me. And then I've come up with this one, and again, here we are back in the same place. But it does look good, and Bob, I think it's important that we get it done, because I'm going to tell you, if we're going to get quality sheriffs and we're going to keep quality sheriffs, and I don't know of any more important time that we need quality people guarding.
Are the sheriffs the only one that is that it's control damage you make? Because you could give more money to a deputy.
What this would do, if they keep the language the same, what this would do, it would make sure that a sheriff's pay wage has to be up. And again, I don't know. I haven't kept track on what they've set that at yet. Either 75 or 80, whatever they set it at. And then deputies would be up 60 or 65. So again, the deputies would be below a sheriff, but at the same time, it would help. I mean, this would almost be for a lot of sheriff's department out here. We're talking about $15,000, $20,000 raise. So it would be crucial to places like Atoka, Cole, Push County, these kind of areas that I live in. Man, this would be a game changer.
I don't think there's any. I think they can pay that if they want to pay it. That's up to the county on that.
Well, Bob, you know what? If the county, that we send all the money to the state, and the state they lost that stamp, Bob. You remember that stamp they used to have at the post office, return to sender? Hey, they lost that, and up there at the Capitol, they don't have return to sender. And while y'all get all those taxes up there, guess what? The state keeps us. So give you an example. We've got gravel going out of here like game busters. I mean, they're running gravel, 85% of it out of state, and yet guess how much tax we get on that?
Nothing.
Not a dime, nothing. And again, when we tried to pass that, state chamber, all your big corporations up there in the city want to say, oh, no taxes. Well, as a Republican, I agree. I'm opposed to trying to tax everybody. But Bob, when you're paying zero tax, why should gas and oil pay 5% of all the stuff they bring up, and rock, gravel, aggregate, sand pay zippo? And so whether it is water, because guess what? All our water goes to Oklahoma City, but guess how much they don't pay anything. Now, yeah, they've got some land around there and they pay to keep that land up, but guess what? That comes off our tax roll. And so we get no taxes off that. All that land, large amounts of land come off the tax roll. We get no taxes. All that water comes from down here. And guess what? And they built the thing, so I think they ought to be, no question, able to get water. I'm not arguing that point. But what I'm saying, all that water comes off of our area, and there ought to be a tax on it like everything else. You think Oklahoma City wouldn't tax it if it was coming the other way? I can promise you they can. So here's the deal. All Oklahoma City and Tulsa get all these taxes. They're cash flush and can pay all these money. Go up there and look what y'all's paying your deputies. Go up there and look what you're paying your sheriffs. And some of them are doing a great job. I don't have any problem. Y'all can afford it. I say cool. But when you say, well, okay, y'all ought to pay that down there, well, then let us charge taxes. Pass a law that says we can pay, charge taxes. How about, guess what? We've got one of the biggest industry down here is going to be lumber. And so if you look on that land, there's 1.5 million acres worth of land that has wasteland tax on it. Guess what? We can't pass that because we go up there to Oklahoma City. Guess what? There's only 7 or 8 counties that can get that. So all the rest of them are against it. Why? Because all you corporate businesses are saying, oh, no taxes, no taxes for us, but they tax the fool out of everything up there. It's not right. It's not fair.
Well, it sounds like to me it's pretty good. It's a pretty good system.
Well, if you just according where you live, Bob, if you live in the wealthier parts of the state, it works mighty fine. If you're down here where we spell poor differently down here. We even pronounce it. We leave off the R. We po. We add an extra O and we leave off the R, Bob. We say po different, you know. So here's the thing, Bob. This is a good bill. It brings this up. And again, I understand there's some arguments. If I'm not mistaken, now we're going back a ways, Bob, but I think used to the DAs were under the same deal, that the DAs were county to county and not, they had a district, I think, but they were paid out of that district county by county and not state. And again, there's people would argue that everything ought to go back to county. I tell you, when the state gets involved, sometimes that takes on a different, now it's state controlled instead of being local controlled.
Well,
I like local government.
Just a second. Now,
Yeah.
why would the speaker be opposed to this?
He's not opposed to it. I think he's for it. I think it's flown through our area. I think we're just looking at budget now. I think it'll go through now. Whether I don't know if the governor will sign it or not. Probably will. I think he would, though.
Well, you want to hurt it in the rural areas.
Oh, it'd help him in the rural. If he's going to run for something else, I don't know that he's going to run.
There's quite a few sheriffs in the news. Said one guy supposedly got $250,000. You know anything about that?
Bob, that is huge. I'm going to tell you something. That is big. That's over in Carter County. And Bob, let me even back up before we even talk about the 250, just to show you how things, why there's a group out there calling for an investigation on this. But my understanding is Carter County, and I think it's the same deputy. I don't want to name the deputy's name, but same deputy I think is involved in these. But anyways, they pull over a group of game fowl people with their chickens. And they had $8,000 on them. So they take the $8,000 and leave them on the side of the road with their chickens. Now, Bob, that would be like me stopping you and you having cocaine on you, and I kick you out on the side of the road and leave you with your cocaine, and I take you $8,000.
Well, they kept their automobile, didn't they?
Well, I think they towed the automobile in, I think. But again, the $8,000 is my understanding has never been reported. So it's their word against his, whether there's $8,000 or not. And they go in just a little bit after that into another game fowl residence, of which I think there's no law violations. And they seize $250,000, $250,000, which is a few clams, Bob. That's a pretty big, pretty big amount of money. And so again, we've got a group of game fowl people who started a series of tapes out there, and they're and just for everybody knows that I am very good friends with all the game fowl industry, and so I don't act like that I don't know these guys or don't know what's going on. We do, but
I thought you got a new internet system.
Can they get that? Go.
You're off the air. You switched internet carriers, and you still have problems. There you go.
Bob, why do I keep getting kicked off today? We got a bad signal.
Well, you switched your carrier, right?
I did switch carrier. I'm supposed to have never dropped. In fact, I went on what do you call that? Something net, first net, Bob. So if you're a first responder, sheriff's deputy, or something like that, then you get this upgraded. You're never supposed to be without signal. And we've proven them wrong twice today because we dropped this twice today.
Well, if they're looking for some emergency, they're going to be in deep trouble if you lose it like that.
That would be ugly. But I will tell you this, Bob. I had U.S. Cellular before, and you know for a fact, hey, I couldn't talk to you 5 minutes. It's dropping me every 5 minutes. So again, it's better than what I had. I will say that, much better
Well,
than what I had.
why are the sheriffs? There's sheriffs in the news, just a lot of counties for all different reasons.
Well, Bob, up there in y'all's area, you got man, y'all make the news every 5 seconds with your sheriff up there. And one of the things that's big going on, he's accusing the county commissioner, of which Bob's son is county commissioner. So we may be a little biased on this, and we want to throw out that we could be biased. I mean, that's Bob's son, and he's a good friend of mine. So we're not trying to say that we're not more partial to him. And so, anyways, but again, it's pretty easy to prove. He came out and said that they were defunding him. My understanding was that he had a full budget, that he went over budget, that they actually did an additional fund, gave him some more money, and that he's still going over, and that, again, he's back and asked for additional funds. And again, here's the bottom line. That's not defunding, that's additional funding. And so to try to come out publicly and do all of these things against county commissioners to make it look like that somehow that they've attacked you and that they've cut your funding is not honest, and it's not right, and it's not a good thing to do.
Well, first of all, the commissioners are not the ones that control his money. It's a budget board.
Right.
It's not just one person on as the commissioners. It's the budget board. And I don't think he even knew we had a budget board, because he went to the commissioner's office the first thing he did and blamed them of shorting him $6 million. And they showed him where that was at. One of the I can't think who it was, whether there's a court clerk or somebody explained to him. He showed him where they had that money, and they agreed they had that money. But now he just keeps getting more, and he's not encumbering some of the things.
Well, Bob, for me, anybody can make a mistake. I would. That's a pretty big mistake when you're talking about millions in the budget. But if I publicly come out and told you, and I publicly come out and told the whole community that you were an idiot and that you didn't know how to do a budget, and that you were trying to defund me, and that y'all hadn't completely funded me, and then if I found out that, oh, no, I was the one wrong, I would come out, and people don't think this, I guess, about me, but I've done it 100 times. If I'm wrong, I'll come out and say, look, I'm wrong. I got that wrong. And that's, Bob, that's why before I go out publicly, and if anybody knows me very well, we better have it verified upside down, sideways. If we're going to come out and start attacking people, let's have it declared upside. And Bob, a lot of people don't know this, but just like with DOC, take those shower incidents where we called them out for locking people in 2x2 cells. Hey, we had all the evidence. Even with all the evidence, I emailed them and said, hey, y'all need to take care of this. We tried to handle it informally, tried to give them a chance to handle it. Of course, they come back at me with all of that. But again, that's what I would have tried to do if I was him. I would have made sure, I would have verified. Had he verified, then he would have saw that was on him, and he could have handled that differently. Bob, what's he doing right now to fix that problem?
I really don't know. He's still asking for more money. Is all I know about it. He just keeps trying to get more money.
Well, Bob, I read the other day where he's going to have to take some of his staff and move them over to the jail, that he was shorthanded at the jail, and that he had too many staff, and that he was going to have to move those around. I am right on that. Did you see an article like that?
Yeah.
Bob, did you go to the debate? Man, I wanted to go to that debate really bad. Did you make it over there?
Yeah, I did. I made it over there. It was pretty good.
Well, did all of this come up?
No, none of it did.
How do you have a debate? See, that's what's wrong. That's what's wrong right now you can't have an open discussion. Everybody's like, oh, this might influence the vote. Well, hell yeah, it influence the vote. It ought to influence the vote. The truth influence the vote. Get it out there. Why would they not discuss the biggest thing going on in that county? In
Well,
that race?
also, this thing there that was, I don't think was correct. There's some questions that was asked that the sheriff would know the answer to that because he's the sheriff. He happens to do it. But the other two candidates did not know that. And so that's really not fair. They got to work your questions a lot better than what they did at that, because you can't make it good for one person. It should be
Well, Bob, again, here's where I'm at. I don't know about that, but if they're going to ask questions that he could answer, that if they're going to ask where you have knowledge of just that job, where if you don't have that job, you don't have that knowledge, what you're talking about, then again, this budget thing should have been wide open. If you're going to ask those type of questions, why would you not ask this budget thing? And again,
right.
the budget thing should have been addressed. That's why I wanted to go. I wanted to hear both sides on the budget issue, or hear more thoughts on the budget, and make sure, what's he saying. I know some of the things he said. I saw some of the cards he put out, but I've also seen in the paper where it's come and said, hey, he was the one, if I'm not mistaken, I've read in the paper that he was the one mistaken, and that he did get a full budget. Bob, hadn't that come out in the paper?
I don't know if that came out, and they did something come out in the paper and said that they said he was wrong on his budget, and he had the money. Now I know that when they had the budget, they approved it, and I haven't followed it real close. I just listened here and there. When they have a budget, he didn't complain about it. He took the money and left. He didn't say, hey, I need more money. But they already gave him more money than what they had the previous year. He's got more money than any other sheriff has had in the last few years.
Well, and again, Bob, if you come and justify that, if you started a new program, if you did something more at the jail, or, you know what I'm saying, you need to be able to walk in and say, hey, I need $12 million extra because we're going to build a new county jail, or we're going to put our offices over here by this county jail, or we're going to do something of significance that's going to take extra money. That's understandable. But if you're just going flat budget, and again, you run over flat budget, $3 or $4 million, and now you want to blame that on county commissioners when they're not even the one who sets it, that's problematic. And then we find out that, you went over the budget, and then you come out with flyers slamming the county commissioners, which ain't even responsible, and then you're going to try to lay it off on their feet. Again, that's not good business, Bob, and somebody ought to call that out. Bob, that's why most people would not want to have the conversation that we're having. You know what I'm saying? That's why we call this elephant in the room, is because we discuss things that nobody wants to publicly say out in the public. But again, if you're going to put your business in the public and you're going to put out those flyers blaming it on the county commissioners, then I would say you're open for discussion. And again, I think that should have been discussed openly at that forum. I mean, that's what it's for. The public should have got to hear the answers, him state why he feels like that. And there should have been some people ready to rebut on that. And had I been one of the other candidates, I can guarantee you he wouldn't have got away with it, because if I was one of the other candidates, I would have spun any one of those questions. I would have turned it into a budget issue.
Well,
I can't believe they didn't do that.
Nobody brought it up. Everybody, I don't know. I did get up and leave early, but I stayed till they did all the baits and they got into other stuff. But there's definitely a problem.
There's problems. And hey, while we're on this, Bob, I definitely want to tell people, I know where you're at. Me and you talk all the time. We want to tell people, you're not going to find anybody who supported the Sheriff's Association, the police anymore. We were both public safety chairmen. I'm criminal justice corrections chairman right now. I don't think there's anybody supported law enforcement any better than Bob, any better than me. But at the end of the day, whether it's DAs, whether it's sheriffs, whether it's other law enforcement, what we have to do is be willing to call out those bad players, those bad apples. And again, sometimes on a budget issue like this, I'm not saying he's a terrible person. Needs to buy a calculator, it sounds like. But, here's the thing. That don't make him a terrible person. But if you're going to go after people and you're going to go claim that county commissioners are responsible for your budget fall, then you need to have some proof of that, especially if you're in law enforcement and you know what it takes to make those accusations. Then have 100% proof and be able to walk into the media, and the media is saying you're wrong. Everybody's saying you're wrong. The county commissioners aren't the one who sets the budget, so they have a budget committee. And again, so you're wrong. It sounds like all the way around, and everybody is scared to call it out and even have a conversation on it. And that's what's wrong in our community. People are scared to death. Bob, I come out on the DAs, and you know this for a fact, Bob. I come out on the DAs. I have evidence to show that they are collecting probation fees. I went and worked and found 40,000 entries where they entered it supervision fee. Bob, they can't claim it ain't supervision fees. It's supervision fees. I went and got the appellate court made a decision directly to the DAs, told the DAs directly, this money must be used for the actual act of supervision. That means two things. It means the money has to be spent on that, earmarked for that, and it has to be actual supervision. If you charge people for something and you don't do it, it's fraud. And that's what the DAs are doing. We got 40,000 entries saying supervision fee. They're not providing supervision. They're collecting it up to 55 million on that little part that I've looked up. So $55 million charging people for something they ain't doing. It's fraud all day long. They take the money and they send it up to their district attorney council. They take the money and they send it over to the Capitol. Therefore, one can obviously say, and I can prove all this, got documents to prove it. And I had our staff look to make sure I was right. So here's the deal. All of this goes over. Therefore, they can't say they spent the money on supervision. So here's the deal. They violated the court order. They committed fraud. I call them out. Guess what? They're trying to arrest me. They're trying to make me out to be the bad guy because they're doing, and that's why people are scared to call stuff out anymore. Hey, Bob, did you see where Tommy Johnson? So guys, Tommy Johnson is the sheriff up there in Oklahoma City. Good dude, good guy. I like him. He seems, I don't know him super well. I've met him several times. I kind of followed him in on a radio program the other day. Guy is awesome. But one of the things that is going on, this is why we got to speak out so much. So you had some people say some stuff on Facebook and they got visited by the FBI. So here they're just speaking out on Facebook and you're going to get visited by the FBI because you've, said your free speech. So you've stood on your First Amendment, and guess what? The FBI is going to come and intimidate you and try to make you shut up and quit putting things out on Facebook. And again, boy, that is wrong. But the people at the house asked, "Can we see your credentials?" And they would not show them their credentials. And so Sheriff Johnson, I think, followed up, found out it was the FBI, confirmed that it was the FBI. And he went out on a radio program telling people, hey, you have the right and you have the right to ask for. And if they won't show your credentials, dismiss them. Say, hey, I'm not talking to you. And again, that's standing up for, I think he came out the other day, Bob. I don't know the exact of what kind of program they've got in Oklahoma City, but apparently they're turning loose some pretty serious criminals and Tommy came out and stood up against that. So, I just want everybody to know we're not down in sheriffs. We've got a lot of awesome sheriffs. I'll tell you what, Bob, you remember this? I had a school teacher, preacher here in Push County, in District 19, that the ATF came in and raided his home. After he had let them in 2 or 3 times, there was no reason to raid that home. And they came in and raided his home, handcuffed him, screaming and hollering at his kid, seized, 50 something, 60 guns, for no reason, didn't charge him, seized those guns. And we wrote up a probable cause. They offered to sell them guns back to him for $10. $10 a gun.
Not all the guns, though, only some.
No. In fact, he had to sell 60 something guns. And then they only offered him back the guns that weren't worth a whole lot. And now, how did they come up with that? We're going to keep this many guns. How did they not give them all or take all? Bob? But anyways, we wrote up a probable cause, and I worked with Sheriff's Department down there to write up a probable cause, and we got that to the AG. It's solid. The AG could file charges on those ATF officers. And in light of what happened, Bob, did you see down there in Arkansas? Probably the same group doing that. They raided that guy's home early in the morning, ended up killing him down in Arkansas.
Yeah.
So again, we've got to act on these things. We've got to call them out. We've got to make sure that we're, calling out the bad, and we got to brag on the good. Hey, there's a lot of good sheriffs operating across the state, doing good. Hey, that guy up there in, where'd we go speak the other day there in Logan County? Guthrie. So went and spoke at Guthrie the other night on an OK2A meeting. Bob, was you pretty impressed? That was a pretty big crowd.
Yeah, there's a good crowd.
That
guy up there in what's the name of that county? Up there around El Reno.
Canadian
County. That guy seems to be a very good officer.
Oh yeah. I think his name's Wes.
Yeah.
He's I can tell you, these are some good guys that are operating out there that are pretty impressive. You know what I'm saying? We've got great sheriffs down here in our area. We need to call out those. We've got some. If you've been watching the Woolley case, that you hear me speak on all the time. Hey, I've got some questions on how they could go in and do the things in that case. And again, Bob, you know me, and I've already said this today. I do not just go willy-nilly and start saying anything. I brought the Woolies to my building right here where I'm sitting. We spent an entire day. And when I say an entire day, I'm talking, I order lunch. When I go through a case, I'll lock the door. I'll order lunch. We will sit here. I got a whiteboard. I've got a conference table. We lay everything out. And Bob, I'll guarantee you, I went through that case and everything I said, how you going to prove this? They were able to produce proof. And some of the things that DHS and this county had said about them, and again, I had DHS come personally tell me some stuff that I was able to go back and look and go back to DHS and say, hey, you are slandering this person, and what you're saying is absolutely 1,000% totally false. Was able to get, so it had to do with some animal stuff, and I was able to get an autopsy, and I was able to disprove everything that they were saying. And it's sad. And so when you can arrest people and you can put them in jail for 4 months, let them out because you don't have any evidence, arrest them again 4 months, and let them out because you don't have any evidence, try to charge them with other charges and have to drop them because there's no evidence. Bob, when you're doing that, I can understand the first time. If you thought that they were guilty and you thought you had evidence and you were trying, your case kind of unravels, okay. But you don't rearrest them unless 1,000%, you get your case ready to go and you have your case ready. And Bob, that's the way we'll have stuff all the time. And it's like, man, I want to go with this. No, let's wait. We got some stuff right now on OCP where we know people are trying to close that association down on purpose. We've got all kinds of evidence to show that. But again, we are setting the stage to let them go ahead and tie that noose, let them go ahead and put that noose around their neck and hang themselves. And they will. And I'm sure that we'll end up having to file a lawsuit against them. There's no question in my mind. They're not going to come up and say, we were wrong and we were just doing this because we want to shut the place down. They're not going to admit that. They're not going to come out and say that. And going to end up having to sue them. And that's sad that you know, in our government, in these agency directors, and sometimes these sheriffs, and sometimes these DAs, they just get power drunk and again won't admit they're wrong.
Well, then in this case, this wasn't necessarily the director. This is a guy that resigned from OCP, resigned, and then he won't give back all the information and all the Facebook passwords and everything that belong to OCP. They don't belong to him. They belong to the members.
Yeah, but Bob, here's the deal. That person. So again, for our audience, what we're talking about is that there's an association, and we believe that the guy that was over OMES, Stephen Hart, so he was over OMES, and he changed the deal called merit protection, and he will personally take credit. I've heard him say it, you know. But anyways, when they changed that, they went after these employee associations that protect employees, that stand up for the rights of employees, fight for employee wages, fight for employees if they get fired wrongfully, fight for the conditions of employees. And again, they're not a union. They are an association by the membership, by the employees themselves. It's ran by the employees themselves or retired employees. And so again, what you're seeing is OPEA. Everybody that's been involved with the state knows what a fine organization that has been through the past years. OPEA, Oklahoma Employment Professionals Association, I think is what that stands for. But anyways, hey, Bob, I've heard that they're about decimated. I've heard they're down to numbers like in 3,000 when there's, you know, thousands, 30-something thousand, I think, employees. They're down to 3,000. And again, I heard that the director of that was fired and ended up having to sue them over all the things that we're talking about. But now that same guy moves over to the Department of Corrections and has been a total disaster, I might say. Moves over there, and his first day, first rattle out of the box, says, we're not going to deal with that association. We're not going to recognize that association. We're not going to have anything to do with that association. But yet they go start having private meetings with the president of that association. And they put out on text message, hey, the director says, don't tell our OCP director anything, and we're going to have a private meeting. And so, again, they have a series of private meetings that we believe they had, and that nobody knows. They don't tell the membership, which is supposed to report back to membership. They tell them nothing, and everything that you can do to sabotage an organization, that board did everything. They didn't do one thing that you could say was good for the association. They sabotaged that association.
No, he would not even, as the president, he would not even put a interview on Channel 4 that had to do with DLC, the way they are appealing, just costing us more money. But he wouldn't even put that up on our website. And
I know.
And that's good for the membership to know that we're fighting for them.
Well, and that was by their own attorney. I mean, here's their own attorney that is out making a report. And it's so bad that the news calls him and says, hey, we'd like to do an interview on how many appeals you're winning and how many cases you're winning and how they're appealing that, costing the state more money, costing these employees, and especially when we're shorthanded, wrongfully firing people then and refusing to hire them back. It's horrific. I mean, it's terrible. It's terrible. And yet, here's the deal. keep on doing it. But we're not going to have anything to do with that association. But we'll meet with them and tell them how to sabotage that association. And Bob, it looks like they're doing it. I mean, you couldn't ask for any more sabotage when they won't put out that kind of information, when they refuse to run that, when we're having an OCP live and we're getting up to 2,000 views every time, and when you're getting more members, and then they want to take down all of that.
They didn't want to put that Channel 4 interview up because that makes the director look bad.
Right,
so he's
and they don't want to make
the director
to
let members know what's going on. And the director, apparently,
Bob,
the director wants to be the leader of OCP.
But here's the thing, Bob. That's what's going on with every agency. You have these unelected bureaucrats. You have people like Hart. You have people that are over the DAs. You got 3 or 4 or 5 people over all the DAs. And guess what? They're supposed to keep public records. They're supposed to make sure that the rules for public records are kept. They're the people you go to when somebody's violating that rule and go, hey, what are we going to do to enforce this rule? Guess who's violating that rule? Me and another guy had to sue the DAC, or we sued one district attorney, but you're fighting all of them. You're fighting every one of them, but you're suing this one, but you're fighting all of them. And here's the deal. And we'll probably end up, I hope we don't have to sue all of them. Maybe they'll come to their senses. But here's the deal, Bob. The very people who are supposed to keep the rules are violating the rules, and you have to sue them. So here's the DAs, falsely taking money. And again, everybody knows falsely taking money is fraud. You don't have to be a lawyer. So here's the top law group doing that. Bob, they're also deciding whether they charge somebody, and they're making money by charging them. That's the conflict. The Constitution says that you have a fair and objective court system. Well, when the court system are making money by charging you, they ain't fair and objective.
Yeah, they just keep charging you for another
and for doing nothing. They're doing nothing, Bob. But yet you go and present this, and again, if you go up to our leadership in the House or in the Senate, JJ, you just attack everybody. Yeah, I attack them when they're violating the law and when they're violating the Constitution, and when our whole system, this is the people that are in charge of our whole system, and they're violating Open Meetings Act. They're violating, they're committing fraud. They're violating the Constitution. And again, everybody, JJ, I got 1,000% proof. There is no question. And I'm fixing to write it all up. And you know who I'm going to present it to, Bob?
Who?
I'm tired of presenting it to the AG. I'm tired of presenting it to the governor. I'm going to present it to the people of the state of Oklahoma. I'm going to write a deal and say, you are the government. Time to stand up and tell the AG, tell the governor, enough of this bullshit. Get this done. Get it fixed. Come up here and start having 30,000 people show up on the governor's front step and say, this is enough. And we're fixing to do that Wednesday. I don't know if we'll have 30,000. Doubt we have 30,000. But hopefully we'll have a pretty good crew. But we're going to go over to the governor's office. It's not me. They called me and asked would I go over with them. But it is a group of parents and family that are sick of every day having one of their family members stabbed. Bob, we had a person stabbed. I forget how many times that lady told me that he was stabbed. They can't get a straight answer. And here's the deal. They can't even get a DOC to tell them what happened. Why was he stabbed? He was moved from one prison, was there one day, stabbed. I don't know if he stabbed 32 times. I think that's maybe. Bob, I will tell you this. I can't remember whether the guy at Lawton got stabbed 32 times or whether the guy at Allen Gamble got stabbed. There's one got hit in the head. There's one got stabbed in the head. I can't keep up with all of them. So
well, it's crazy. But back on OCP, the director or the president, he called a meeting for 8:00 on a Tuesday at Shawnee, which is a very weird time to have that. But public meetings. Here's something I was looking at the other day. Public meetings should be convenient and accessible to the public. It also says one purpose of the act is to encourage civic engagement. So when he called a meeting at 8 o'clock in the morning, you don't want anybody to show up. It's a phony deal, which he is a phony
Well,
after all.
Bob,
And you know what? He's getting transferred. He's getting go to another prison, another type of job. So apparently
Bob,
he's getting paid off for turning in all that information.
yeah, but here's the
Looks
deal,
like
Bob.
it looks like that anyway.
He sets that meeting for that time. You couldn't have picked a better time. Again, when I say that he's trying to sabotage, look, he's trying to sabotage. At least he did set a meeting, and at least he did schedule it at a time. That's a way big step up for him, because before he never had a honest election. He never had a fair election. He didn't try to call elections. He didn't try to set meetings in a place where you could actually have an open discussion. He wanted to go to a restaurant so he could get a free meal. And you tell, well, I won't say that. But here's the deal. He wanted a free meal out of the deal. So he has, going to these restaurants where you can't have a public conversation. And again, they never had them organized. They never had them at the same time, same place, where people could get used, set their schedule to doing it. All sabotage. I mean, every move he's made has been sabotaged. And again, when he starts coming back with all this legal reason why he's not going to give, so he resigns when he sees the handwriting on the wall. He resigns, and now he's hijacked all the information and claims to have all this legal knowledge, like he suddenly turned law school or something. And now he's going to withhold all this based on some legal knowledge. Wonder who told him that. He's never had an original thought himself, so he had to be told that. And so again, Bob, it's all sabotage. It's all designed sabotage. And I would say it's pretty apparent that it's designed from above him. And that's why they've been meeting with him. And that's why he's working with them to kill this organization. At least it appears that way to me, Bob. And again, we have a lot of evidence. But Bob, it's that way. What I'm trying to say is, whether it's the sheriffs, whether it's the DAs, whether it's the DHS, all these agencies, all these large positions. Bob, it's time everybody is scared to call them out. And again, hey, I understand it, Bob. I got 2 death threats the other day. They come and asked me who I thought was responsible, and I told them it's one of the agencies. Now that's sad, but that's what I believe.
Yeah.
And here's the other thing, Bob. They go after you politically. Hey, I've been attacked politically. I've been attacked every which way that you can imagine, to be attacked publicly, politically. But again, I don't care, but it's time, Bob, just like what we're doing here, elephant in the room. It is time that the community start demanding from their representatives and their senators that we start holding. Bob, an agency can do whatever they want and nobody says a word. And you try to get a subpoena for them, guess what? No, we can't go. Oh, we don't want to get in a fight with them. Well, why would we not want to why are they not listening to us? I call over and say, I need your paperwork for this. Guess what? And Bob, I get a lot of stuff. I get cooperations from places I would never dream, because they don't want to have me on them, I think, is mainly the deal. But Bob, why is it that the legislators are controlled by unelected bureaucrats instead of the legislators controlling that? And I will tell you, these budgets are a joke. I've just got to where I don't even the budget is a joke. We don't get a detail what they're using on that budget. Ain't nobody sat down and went through there and actually looked how many employees. Do they actually have the employees? Bob, this. That's how they got the $43 million raise in DOC, because I actually sat down and went through there and said, hey, Bob, you know what? Right now, I had an agency the other day. I found $1 million worth of furniture purchased without POs. That's problematic. And Bob, I found a whole bunch more than that. I have not come out yet and said it. I went and asked them because I want to see what their answer is going to be. And they answered it wrongly, I might add. And they don't know that I I knew quite a bit more before I asked him a question. But at the end of the day, Bob, who's doing that up there? Nobody is going through these budgets and calling them out. And then when it's something like what we're talking about here in Cleveland County, and then when you do call them out, guess what? You get flyers on you. You get flyers making you out to be the criminal. And just like you on OCP, Bob, guess what? What did they do? Oh, Bob's taking money. Bob's this. Well, come look at the money. There's more money than there was in there by far than when he started. So how do you steal money and get more money in there? That's hilarious. But again, Bob, the bad actors will turn the scenario. When you hear them bad actors saying something, better look at them. They're generally squawking about something they do.
Well, there's always been a lot of problems with OCI.
Bob, I mean, look at how many things that we turned over to Loft on OCI. Again, that telecommunication deal that just their contracts were written horrifically. I get a call, oh, heads are going to roll. When I put that out, guess what? Nothing. When you start talking about ghost employees, oh my gosh, you thought I was the criminal. And guess what? I know they were there. My goal was to get them back to work. I wasn't going to just come back to work, quit stealing. That's like right now, Bob. You know how many people are working from home? I talked to a lady not very long ago. JJ, I'm mad because they're going to try to make me come in to the office one day a week. I'm like, really? Well, you work for them? Well, I can't come in because I agreed to take care of my brother's kids. Well, so what you're telling me is you're supposed to be working, but you're taking care of your brother's kids. Well, no, I can still work and take care of them. Well, maybe, but not like you could. I mean, are you going to take them into the office with you? How well did that work? And so again, then I said, well, even if your brother goes find somebody to take care of them one day a week, you're still money ahead. I wouldn't gripe about that too much. Well, guess what? Oh, I've got a part-time job too. It ruined my part-time job. So you're taking care of your brother's kids. When your brother picks them up, you're going to a part-time job, and when we're paying you for full time, wow. Now you think that ain't what's going on all over? They've let all these people go home. They've closed all the state offices. So why are we paying DHS if we're giving them all this money, and now all this money we've got, they closed all the offices where they're supposed to be actually, doing it, and the people who they're helping don't have cell phone. A lot of people have cell phones, but these are poor people. They don't have rides and they don't have computers and all that. Now we're going to close the office. Where are they going to go? Hey, Logan County just closed their office, moved it to Stillwater. Do you think the people who use that office there in Guthrie can afford to go over to Stillwater to meet somebody? And now there ain't nobody in those offices. They just drive over there and they say, oh, so-and-so will contact you. Well, how are they going to contact them? It is ridiculous what we're seeing, and nobody wants to call them out. When you go to the governor, when you go to the legislators, oh, JJ, you're just after everybody. You're just attacking everybody. Well, hell, somebody ought to, somebody's got to do it. It shouldn't be one guy doing it. You know what I mean? There should, and I will tell you that Dana Perino, Shane Jett, there's some other guys, Chris Manning, there's some people out there really going after some of this. So I don't want to act like it's just me, Bob.
Well, now I've heard that it's hard to get a hold of anybody when you call DHS. Is that?
Oh, absolutely. It's insane. But Bob, call one of these prisons.
They don't answer their phone there either.
Or if you do, they're not going to tell you nothing. They're going,
That's kind of a sad part when they report of a stabbing, and they very well know the person that got stabbed, but they won't release it. And so a family that has somebody in that prison, they're sitting on pins and needles.
Well, Bob, let me say this. This just happened just day before yesterday. So day before yesterday, and before I say this, the person I contacted at DOC, I love her. She's great. I have no problem with her. She's only doing her job and telling me back what she's told to tell me. So I contact them and say, hey, you remember the guy I called out on 911 that made the 911 call from the prison?
Yeah.
So I get a call the other day from prison. Did you ever believe that I'd be getting so many calls from prison on my Capitol phone and on my cell phone? But I get a call from prison. The call lasts a good little while. And anyways, it turns out this guy, I'm told, his life's been threatened. So I call DOC and say, hey, this guy right here, his life has been threatened. Okay. Now, I get a call back. We don't believe that. We checked on that and we don't believe it. So I wrote him back and said, well, I anticipated that to be your answer. And the only reason I'm writing you is to document. So if something does happen to this young person, that it's well documented that you should have known or that you did know. Well, the next thing I know, I'm getting wrote back that they sent some email, according to what I was told, to the speaker. So they're going to snitch me off to Charles. Go ahead and snitch.